Bruce Hozeski, it is such an honor to have you here today to talk about Hildegard of Bingen.
Well, it's always a delight to talk about Hildegard.
How did you first become acquainted with Hildegard of Bingen?
When I was in graduate school in the 60s, I was interested in medieval drama, and Arnold Williams was a specialist in that, and he had gone to a meeting and there was a quick reference made to a liturgical morality play from the 12th century. Well, most morality plays are from the 14th century, and so he looked into it, and it's Hildegard's play, of course. And he knew that I had enough Latin to be able to, Hildegard wrote everything in Latin, so he knew I had enough Latin to deal with it and wanted to know if I was interested. And so I looked at it and decided that I was going to use that as my doctoral dissertation.
Tell us the name of the play that you studied.
The Ordo Virtutum.
Which roughly translates as?
Play of the Virtues. The play comes as the culmination of her Scivias, the first collection of her mystical visions. And I started with the play, and then as I got into the play, I thought, I want to see what she's doing in the visions to lead up to the play.
So you met Hildegard through her play, the Ordo Virtutum, but you actually went ahead and translated a number of her works.
This is the first one, the Scivias, which you can translate as may you know or know the ways. And then the second one is the Liber Vitae Meritorum, the book of the rewards of life. She wrote all kinds of stuff, as you know, so I did a translation of one of her healing works as well, using plants for her healings.
So you actually studied most of her writings?
Yes, except I've done the most with the mysticism and a little bit with the healing. But other people, Patsy Escott, for example, at the New England Conservatory in Boston, is working on her music, and different people. There's lifetimes of research for hundreds and hundreds of people. You know, I realized right away when I started working on Hildegard, she's a major woman writer from the Middle Ages that's basically unknown.
We know that Hildegard was known as a visionary, but how did she actually receive her visions?
She says, behold, in the 43rd year of my passing journey, when I clung to a heavenly vision in fear and trembling, I saw a very great light from which a heavenly voice spoke to me and said, and then she quotes what the heavenly voice said to her. So, you know, what she's saying there is a bright light, but a voice from heaven, a voice of God speaking directly to her. And what's happening in this 43rd year of her life, this voice is telling her to record her visions and make them public. But she started having the visions when she was 5. She didn't let anybody know other than a few of the religious in her area and a few of the friends, but she kind of kept quiet about it. But eventually she entered into the hermitage at St. Disibodenberg and studied under Jutta, and her visions continued. Well, when she started entering the convent, she started gathering a large crowd, I mean a large group of followers, and the news of her vision started spreading. So then it was the Archbishop of Mainz, I think, that brought them to the attention of Pope Eugenius. I think it was Pope Eugenius III. And then he suggested that they set up a commission to study them, to see whether they were legitimate. You know, the church is always very cautious, and should be in that case. And so then it was when she was in, what was it, 43rd year, did she say?
Yeah.
That when she was 43 years old, that's when, you know, the Pope said, basically, you know, maybe not directly to her, but through paperwork, you know, these need to be recorded and preserved. And that's when she started dictating them to Volmar, her scribe.
Yeah.
And then she saw to the painting of the visions.
How many paintings are there?
It's between 20 and 30. But she saw to the painting of it. Then she gives us the actual words that she heard.
So we can actually see.
We actually see the vision. We get the words that she heard during the vision, and then what she does is she takes each sections of those words and interprets them. And she'll say, you know, this means this, or this stands for this. And what was to be honest about it, that was very helpful, because when I was translating the visions, you know, they're pretty complex. And you get some of the Latin prepositions and you think, is she saying near, next to, above, below, you know? But you could look at the painting and you knew exactly what she meant
I see.
from that.
So Bruce, you translated 2 of her 3 visionary works. Can you tell us what were some of the main themes?
One of the main themes is viriditas,
What is that?
and that's the Latin word for greenness. The greenness of nature, the greenness. She refers to it as it's the greening, life-giving force within all forms of life. That's a constant theme all the way through her writings. And that shows up particularly, I did the one translation of her healing work on plants, and of course, you know, the greenness comes in there. But another central theme is the idea of the microcosm and the macrocosm, which the macrocosm is the whole world, the whole universe in that sense. The microcosm is, you know, we're a mini version of the major world. Basically, what she's saying is, isn't 2/3 of the earth water? Well, we're the same percentage of water. There's a certain percentage of zinc in the planet Earth, and we have a certain percentage of zinc in us. And her idea is that when we are in exact balance with the natural world, that's when we are physically and psychologically and mentally healthy.
So you did some work on her healings. What were some of the main themes that she wrote about there?
A crucial idea all the way through her visions is, of course, the struggle between good and evil. The play that I started working with originally is the forces of good and evil that are struggling, of a troubled soul that is torn between good and evil. The idea that she gets the key musical notes coordinated with the key ideas is really very well done by Hildegard. But the interesting part in the play is the devil does not sing. The devil only speaks his part. But everybody else, the virtues and the vices, sing. Another dimension of Hildegard we might bring out, she was a very kind, loving, caring kind of person. She did a tremendous amount of good in her life, but she was not bashful. She was outspoken. If something was wrong, she did not hesitate to say so, and it didn't matter who she was saying it to. She corresponded with Frederick Barbarossa. Frederick was doing something that she thought was not right, and she wrote a letter to him. She was not nasty at all, but she was rather direct. And if you think about this, this is a woman in the 12th century in a convent, and we all are aware of the hierarchy of the church and all of this, that she wasn't bashful about saying to Frederick Barbarossa, what you are doing is wrong, and you need to stop doing this.
If Hildegard were here today, what do you think she would have to say to us?
2 things. I think she would tell us to focus on the spiritual more and on the material less. And the other thing is, we're the age of the individual. I, me, myself, number one. We're losing sight of the common good. And Hildegard was very much interested in everybody getting along and helping each other. So Hildegard, I think, would tell us, stop being so concerned about the self. Be more concerned about, focus more on God and spiritual things, and less on the material things.